the chaos every single day, and we bring you sharp, fearless news, reporting and deep dive analysis and special guests. Just the stories that matter, explained clearly. Stop guessing. Start knowing. Subscribe to the EMV podcast on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get the shows. Spend your evening with quality information.
This is EMV. This is Emmanuel. Mwamba verified.
Political and other issues moves. Wake up to this morning news analysis show that provide facts, opinions, and reflections. On what the papers say, we frame key facts to provide a balanced perspective, set the national agenda, and focusing on cross-referencing newspaper coverage with primary data, expert and special guests to offer an in-depth look at daily stories. Live on EMV, I'm talking about
Emmanuel Mwamba verified.
Wake up to this morning news analysis show that provide facts, opinions, and reflections. On what the papers say, we frame key facts to provide a balanced perspective, set the national agenda, and focusing on cross-referencing newspaper coverage with primary data, expert and special guests to offer an in-depth look at daily stories. Live on EMV, I'm talking about
Emmanuel Mwamba verified.
Wake up to this morning news analysis show that provide facts, opinions, and reflections. On what the papers say, we frame key facts to provide a balanced perspective, set the national agenda, and focusing on cross-referencing newspaper coverage with primary data, expert and special guests to offer an in-depth look at daily stories. Live on EMV, I'm talking about
Emmanuel Mwamba verified.
Wake up to this morning news analysis show that provide facts, opinions, and reflections. On what the papers say, we frame key facts to provide a balanced perspective, set the national agenda, and focusing on cross-referencing newspaper coverage with primary data, expert and special guests to offer an in-depth look at daily stories. Live on EMV, I'm talking about
Emmanuel Mwamba verified.
Wake up to this morning news analysis show that provide facts, opinions, and reflections. On what the papers say, we frame key facts to provide a balanced perspective, set the national agenda, and focusing on cross-referencing newspaper coverage with primary data, expert and special guests to offer an in-depth look at daily stories. Live on EMV, I'm talking about
Emmanuel Mwamba verified.
Elections. If he wants to prove that there's free and fair elections, we let our petition, our matter be heard, the right to be heard. Let it be heard in court. Let him stop influencing these useless adjournments. Then you can talk about a free and fair election. His election is contested. We're in court. And it doesn't matter how long he delays it. His view is that we will give up. We are not giving up on that. Because he'll get used. Next time, he will just steal the votes again, as he did in August 2016. Somebody will petition. Then he will instruct, as he abuses judges, he will instruct the judges to say, sit on the matter. As you know, the court process here, once litigants submit their documents into court, the time and process is managed by the court. Then you just wait and sit for 14 days. A wrong interpretation of 14 days. That is not acceptable. So there is no free and fair elections. Look at the Electoral Commission's conduct. It's a disgraced Electoral Commission. The way Judge Chulo announced the results in Lundas, announced results more than the number of people who voted in Lundas, valid votes cast. The same chairman, and he's still sitting as chairman of the Electoral Commission. He needs to resign. We need a totally independent, new and independent Electoral Commission on the lines of South Africa. I think that's what I'll say. Fair elections. If he wants to prove that there's free and fair elections, we let our petition, our matter be heard, the right to be heard. Let it be heard in court. Let him stop influencing these fair elections. If he wants to prove that there's free and fair elections, we let our petition, our matter be heard, the right to be heard. Fair elections. If he wants to prove that there's free and fair elections, we let our petition, our matter be heard, the right to be heard. Let it be heard in court. Let him stop influencing these useless adjournments. Then you can talk about a free and fair election. Many of us in this region proud that you still have a judiciary and armed members of the judiciary that are able to do what is right for their people. We must be proud of that. We understand they went through temptations, a lot of temptations, and they withstood these temptations. Money, other things we hear were thrown at them. But they understood why they are on the Constitutional Court. Because the judiciary, the courts must be the place of last recourse, where we go to seek justice. Injustices are done every day in our elections. We know it here in Zambia. 2015, 2016, we know it. But in 2016, our matter was not even heard. Yet the Bill of Rights is clear that if the citizens aggrieved about anything, they have a right to go to court. And any court of competent jurisdiction has an obligation to hear them. It didn't happen in this country. that's happened in Malawi. We're so proud of that Malawi Constitutional Court bench. I hope we can all learn something from that ruling, that you cannot continue cheating the people, the very people that gave you an opportunity to save them, especially in those roles. So congratulations to the opposition in Malawi, and one other thing we learned from Malawi is that they came together. The opposition came together. Here we have some oppositions that are surrogates of the ruling party who are used to abuse fellow opposition. But there, Dr. Chakwera, Dr. Silas Chidima, and others came together for a joint petition to save the people of Malawi. It's another lesson that we Zambians must learn. But more important, it's a Malawian citizen, the Malawian voter, who did not allow their vote to be manipulated. When their vote was manipulated, they showed it. They went in the streets to express their displeasure on how somebody had stolen their votes. They did it for months on end. It encouraged the judiciary. So you can see the point here. The battle, the fight must be fought from different angles. And the citizens...
Political and other issues moves fast in Zambia. Headlines scream from every screen, but do you actually know what they mean for you? There is too much noise, too much imposed opinions. You don't need another talking head shouting opinions. You need facts, you need context. You need the truth behind the noise. You need EMV.
Emmanuel Mwamba verified.
Welcome to the award-winning podcast, EMV. We cut through the chaos every single day and we bring you sharp, fearless news, reporting and deep dive analysis and special guests. Just the stories that matter, explained clearly. Stop guessing. Start knowing. Subscribe to the EMV podcast on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get the shows. Spend your evening with quality information.
This is EMV. This is Emmanuel Mwamba verified.
Wake up to this morning news analysis show that provide facts, opinions, and reflections. On what the papers say, we frame key facts to provide a balanced perspective, set the national agenda, and focusing on cross-referencing newspaper coverage with primary data, expert and special guests to offer an in-depth look at daily stories. Live on EMV, I'm talking about
Emmanuel Mwamba verified.
Good morning, Zambia, and welcome to today's morning show, our breakfast show that reviews events of the day, newspaper coverage, and events that took place yesterday. We put them in context as you start the day. Kindly share the broadcast so that we reach as many people as possible. Today's show will be quite brief because I've got another show that I'm doing with some Nigerian podcasters. So our current show will not go as far as 3 hours or 4 hours the way we do. I will need to make some time. I think let's do it 1 hour, 30 minutes. We analyze the news, we give context to the news, and we review the newspapers, and we see the events of the day. Today, we're covering what Secretary to Cabinet says will be a new inauguration that will go ahead. This is despite a court challenge in the Constitutional Court, as confirmed by the a Chief Justice. The Chief Justice says these are exceptional circumstances. He used, what were the words that the Chief Justice used? Let me just quote him. That these matters are highly irregular because you have an executive, you have President Hakainde Hichilema, former President Hakainde Hichilema, who's seeking a re-election. He's been declared that he has won the election and is on to his second term and there should be an inauguration. But the electoral cycle requires that you campaign, you vote, and if there are any disputes, they are settled. In the past, a new president who's declared will become president within 24 hours. We changed the law because we knew that election petitions were academic. So we included that before the president takes office, who's been sworn in, if there have been irregularities, if there have been crimes against the electoral process, if there have been abuses, especially by the incumbent, that those matters should be determined by the Constitutional Court. That was a drastic change that took place in 2016. No longer within 24 hours, a new president could not be sworn in until electoral disputes were resolved. And the 14-day window was given. The court issued rules and regulations of how that petition should be handled. They said the first 7 days is a window for any petitioner, any litigant to file in. The next 7 days is for the court to hear the evidence and preside over the matter, hear and determine the matter. What is the trouble with the 2026 elections is that everything has been broken. The African Charter on Democracy, Elections and Governance and the SADC Protocol on Elections and Good Governance all forbid the role of the military to be in the ballot centers, in the polling centers. In this election, President Hakainde Hichilema deployed the military in totaling centers, and they not only were present, they interfered with the electoral process. They confiscated audit trail documents. They participated in the alteration of results. That's one major issue. Number two, the custody of ballot boxes and election material were interfered with. You cannot trust the results because the chain of custody was broken by either the military or by UPND cadres. You have UPND cadres that were unleashed to justify the closure of all counting centers for a period of up to 12 hours. From 6 to 12 hours, the centers were closed. The UPND, President Hakainde Hichilema, unleashed the cadres Kalufianya, and we put it on the president because he's never ordered their arrest. He's never even acknowledged the crimes that were done by the UPND. He ordered Kalufianya and his gangs and the thugs in UPND in Kabwe to disrupt, remove, steal, and even trash hundreds, thousands of ballots that were thrown in sewer line, in drainages, especially in Chipata compound. And the president has never ordered the arrest of these thugs that are very well known. Everyone identified Kalufianya and these thugs that terrorized in Matero, Lilanda, and terrorized in Chaisa and Chawama. They did the same in Kabwe, where they grabbed, trashed ballots cast by hundreds, by thousands of Kabwe residents, by thousands of Lusaka, taken and trashed in the sewer, trashed in the drainage. In one of the videos we saw in Chawama, where they got all the ballots that were at that polling center, they even lit them. President Hakainde Hichilema has never ordered the arrest of those thugs, well-known UPND thugs, who you can identify in the electoral process, in the cameras and videos. And it comes to the issues of ECZ saying our electoral officers have been attacked by the UPND. She didn't finish her sentence, and she chose to close all centers, totaling centers countrywide, because the UPND had attacked a few centers in Lusaka, Chawama, and Kabwe. And what did we see? We saw soldiers storm, soldiers change results. We saw soldiers, facilitate the alteration of results. So, two critical issues that has nullified this election. Number one, the presence of the military in totaling centers, something that's forbidden by the African Charter on Democracy, Elections and Governance, and the protocol, SADC protocol on elections and good governance, were breached by that action. Second action, the chain of custody was broken. You therefore cannot trust the results that were led. Mission observers raised other matters, such as the overinflated numbers that President Hakainde Hichilema gave himself in Southern Province and places like Solwezi, and places like Munali, you know, where the Mundwile had a runaway lead, even Lusaka, places like, you know, Kibombwe winning with almost 80,000 margin, and that is wiped out to give like a sweet to Chitambala Mwewa, to give to Christopher Shakafuswa in Mandevu. They were handing over these like sweets, changing the results. This election is not only should be nullified, but the crimes that were committed against the electoral process are very, very critical. Now, what has President Hakainde Hichilema done? He has proceeded to ensure that he's sworn in. His mandate expired. He's a caretaker president until a new president is chosen by our people. Our people choose a president. He trashes those results. He sends the military. They alter the results. And now he's heading to an inauguration, and hapless people like the Chief Justice and Kangwa, Patrick Kangwa, Secretary to Cabinet, are determined to swear him in despite the challenge. Another matter, under the African Charter on Democracy and Elections, which Zambia is part to, is a charter, you know, to promote good governance that Zambia, you know, acceded to with the African Union. You cannot swear in a new president. You cannot swear in the president-elect until the disputes are resolved. It's not allowed. You cannot. So what Patrick Kangwa is doing is just not breaking our law, but is breaking the charter that Zambia acceded to with the African Union. That's a matter we are tracking this morning. The determination by President Hakainde Hichilema to be sworn in, even when there's an outstanding court challenge, even when the cycle of election has not been completed. You campaign, you go for voting, then you resolve the electoral challenge. For the presidents, that is what is set, and that challenge must be resolved within 14 days. And yesterday, we saw a circus of magnitude, a proportion. That was a circus. Secretary to Cabinet, Chief Justice, to attempt to absolve himself, says, the things that have occurred are irregular. I've received this petition in my email, private mail, and I am therefore using my administrative powers as Chief Justice. Remember, this is a constitutional office. He says, I'm referring the documents received to the Constitutional Court for its consideration on the issue of filing of the petition, and the experts that affected, and expects that the affected parties will hear from that court in due course. The Chief Justice recognized that the courts were closed. He recognized that the executive went to a large extent to disrupt the petition. The petition by Brian Mundwile and Makebe Zulu was disrupted by ensuring that all key people around it were arrested. They started with Constitutional Court Judge Annie Mwewa Stali. They proceeded to arrest everyone that was connected with it, including Chisopa, the campaign manager for the president, who's still detained at Kawata police station, including Celestine Mukandila, who's detained at Richard Kachingwe police station. All these were mechanisms to disrupt. They disrupted Jonas Zimba, who was in Southern Province, to collect the genuine documents that exposed that President Hakainde Hichilema had inflated the numbers in Southern Province. The turnout was an average of 30%. They shot it up to 70, 80%. And they pursued Jonas Zimba. They are still pursuing him. Jonas Zimba is a lawyer from Makebi and Associate. And then the big issue, the militia, they've concocted new videos that they are showing every hour on ZNBC, thinking our people will believe the stories. Sadly, our people can see through the lie. It doesn't matter how much you repeat it. Those are lies. And yesterday, when we were reading what the papers say, we talked about the 79 that were arrested in New Kasama. You know, these foreigners have a habit of setting up some form of data centers and data communication centers where they are either loaning our people money illegally, or they are conducting cyber crime, traditional cyber crimes, where they are hacking, like mobile money. And that was a story that was released. 79 arrested, computers confiscated. By yesterday, someone decided to tell a lie that this is connected to subterfuge activities. They want the story to grow like it's related to the militias. Come on. How cheap and amateurish can you be? But that's how desperate they are to fish for evidence that should allege that Brian Mundwil and Makebi Zulu formed the militia. Why would you form a militia when you're popular? Why would you? When hundreds of thousands of Zambians were receiving you wherever you, why would you do that? Why would you do that? And the Patriotic Front, which was led by Given Lubinda until just a few months ago, peaceful. There are many times we pressured Given Lubinda to allow our people to go and protest nationwide. And Given Lubinda provided the best leadership under the circumstances. He is also a firm believer in peace building, peacemaking and peace building. Even when the PF had capacity to conduct countrywide demonstrations, Given Lubinda didn't allow it. So why would anyone go to form a militia? Remember, both Brian Mundwil and Makebi Zulu are from this PF until just a few months ago. They're trying very hard to make the militia story stick. And for me, it's high time we unmask the president and the forces behind it. Tony Blair, what is his interest in our country? Why is he pushing this line where lives have been lost? First Quantum, what is your interest? Why are you pushing this line where people whose lives have been lost? This Greg Mills is just a mercenary, and we know that he's a mercenary and he promotes his own interest. We need to unmask the forces that are pulling the puppet of President Hakainde. We need to unmask and show that this is no longer about our people. This is no longer about our democracy. That there are forces behind the president that are making him do this, kill our people, defile our democracy, conduct a coup d'etat. We need to identify those forces and call them by name, if possible, write to their governments about the crimes they are committing in Zambia and in Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, let's review the newspapers and let me see if my guests are in. If my guests are not in, I'll proceed because, like I said, we need to conduct this in a very short space of time because I've got another engagement, a podcast with the Nigerians, and I don't know how we'll do the link. I might throw it here so that it is live.
Wake up to this morning news analysis show that provide facts, opinions, and reflections. On what the papers say, we frame key facts to provide a balanced perspective, set the national agenda, and focusing on cross-referencing newspaper coverage with primary data, expert and special guests to offer an in-depth look at daily stories. Live on EMV, I'm talking about
Emmanuel Mwamba verified.
Wake up to this morning news analysis show that provide facts, opinions, and reflections. On what the papers say, we frame key facts to provide a balanced perspective, set the national agenda, and focusing on cross-referencing newspaper coverage with primary data, expert and special guests to offer an in-depth look at daily stories. Live on EMV, I'm talking about
Emmanuel Mwamba verified.
Wake up to this morning news analysis show that provide facts, opinions, and reflections. On what the papers say.
Thank you very much for joining us, and continue to share the program. Quickly continue to share, and if you're watching us on YouTube, subscribe. Let's go to the newspapers of the day. What are the newspapers saying? Let's start with News Diggers. News Diggers is quoting the story from Cabinet that there's conflicting position, but Secretary of Cabinet says the judiciary will proceed. They're also carrying the story of the 79 cybercrime suspects that allegedly targeted government system. Remember how they reported the story yesterday? When we did the review of the newspapers, they said these were cyber criminals that were targeting, they were scammers. Now the scammers are being made slowly to target government institutions so that later they could marry it to the so-called militia story, how desperate. They are quoting President Mnangagwa in his congratulatory message to, Zimbabwe finally congratulated the president. Remember yesterday we said South Africa and Zimbabwe have not. Musokotwane says we won't need IMF in 5 years. Come on, this old man, all he knows is the IMF. He doesn't know anything else. We saw when he came in 2008 and 2011. We saw when he came in 2021. His economic policy pursuit is so archaic, but he speaks for the minds, so they love him. So he will probably even return to his former office. The Mast is leading with the story. Put Zambia first. Ichilema and Mundwile should reconcile to unite the nation. This is what the pastor is saying. Which pastor is this? Let's see. He's a Zambian clergy based in Malawi. He's urged President Hakainde Hichilema and Brian Mundwile to reconcile. Then State House denies order in court's closure. Kotwale Babana. Kleso Namasaka issued a statement yesterday distancing the president from the closure of the courts. This story has backfired so badly on the president. He made international news when he closed the courts. And I was happy to see the story trending that President Hakainde Hichilema closed the courts to prevent his arch-rival Brian Mundwile from filing a petition against his re-election because of mass irregularities. And it was trending from Beijing to Paris, London, Johannesburg, New York here, and Quebec. So, sorry, Clayson, you are too late. The action by your president embarrassed our country. Two apprehended in Kabwe cattle theft. ZRA US firm seal Livingstone border tech deal. They are quoting Linda Kasonde's petition, nullify HH's victory. 3 petitioners. Remember, there are 3 petitioners: Linda Kasonde, Brebna Changala, and Linda Kasonde's NGO. Let's go to the next story. the Real Times is also quoting Linda Kasonde, that she had stepped up. She's become a hero of women. She was already a hero by being the first Law Association of Zambia president, but her role has been reignited by this petition she took. Chabona wataba Muzambia na bachepa banshindo, like Mama Chikamoneka says, and Linda Kasonde stepped up, accompanied by Brebna Changala. They filed this petition even under these difficult circumstances. Which other newspaper? Daily Nation. Let's go to the Daily Nation. The Daily Nation is leading with Clayson Amasaka's story, where he's saying that HH didn't order the closure of courts. Musoma, Zambia Republican Party president, is saying this: the judiciary must compensate for the lost Monday. Chief Justice confirming that he has received the petition. The judiciary has received the petition. CCZ says, like our colleague from, like the cleric from Malawi, Zambian based in Malawi, the CCZ have also called on President Hakainde Hichilema and Mundubile to meet and reconcile. The other stories regard the 79 cyber criminals, that were arrested on Sunday. They've reported it properly. Someone is trying to turn this into a subterfuge story. We have Times of Zambia, state-owned newspaper. This is what I was talking about. If you look at yesterday's Times, they said these were cyber criminals. Now the 79 are being linked to subversion. And they're also quoting the Secretary of Cabinet stating that HH swearing in is on. But Chief Justice says we've received the petition. And they're also quoting Clayson Amasaka's story that the president didn't close the courts. And the last, of course, is truly your own newspaper, EMV newspaper. It speaks the truth. It speaks the truth to power. No links, no adverts, no nothing but the truth. We owe no one any obligations. So we are at a space where we can speak the truth without fear of recrimination or anything. We speak the truth. That's the goodness with our newspaper. And we've called it for what it is. The president's action, and we've catalogued, is a coup against democracy. And the Chief Justice confirmed private email petition, and that Zambia has become an autocratic state. Those are the newspapers of the day. I can see one of my dear brothers has joined me. I don't know if he had the time to look at the newspapers, but he has joined me.
Political and other issues moves fast in Zambia. Headlines scream from every screen, but do you actually know what they mean for you? There is too much noise, too much imposed opinions. You don't need another talking head shouting opinions. You need facts, you need context. You need the truth behind the noise. You need EMV.
Emmanuel Mwamba verified.
Welcome to the award-winning podcast, EMV. We cut through the chaos every single day and we bring you sharp, fearless news, reporting and deep dive analysis and special guests. Just the stories that matter, explained clearly. Stop guessing. Start knowing. Subscribe to the EMV podcast on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get the shows. Spend your evening with quality information.
This is EMV. This is Emmanuel Mwamba verified.
We frame key facts to provide a balanced perspective. set the national agenda and focusing on cross-referencing newspaper coverage with primary data, expert and special guests to offer an in-depth look at daily stories. Live on EMV, I'm talking about
Emmanuel Mwamba Verified.
As I've said already,
Okay.
I've not come across a single man in politics who is today thinking of spreading Zambia.
Okay.
Apart from this is a man in Zimbabwe, this is a southern province. He tried to do that, I think, but he didn't succeed. This what is.
Okay. So we.
No, I think he will finish that one.
Okay.
This is my southern province. What is he? The man is running his party.
Which one? Magande?
No. Oh, no.
He comes from Southern Province.
Southern province, yes. This man who is
Hakainde Hichilema.
Akainde. Akainde.
Hakainde Hichilema.
Hichilema.
Hakainde Hichilema.
Who running his
UPND.
UPND side. Apart from that, there is no other leader I can fear to run this country. All those
elections. If he wants to prove that there's free and fair elections, we let our petition, our matter be heard, the right to be heard. Let it be heard in court. Let him stop influencing these useless adjournments. Then you can talk about a free and fair election. His election is contested. We're in court. And it doesn't matter how long he delays it. His view is that we will give up. We are not giving up on that. Because you get used. Next time, he will just steal the votes again, as he did in August 2016. Somebody will petition, then he will instruct, as he abuses judges, he will instruct the judges to say, sit on the matter. As you know, the court process here, once litigants submit their documents into court, the time and process is managed by the court. Then you just wait and sit for 14 days. A wrong interpretation of 14 days. That is not acceptable. So there is no free and fair elections. Look at the Electoral Commission's conduct. It's a disgraced Electoral Commission. The way Judge Chulo announced the results in Lundas, announced results more than the number of people who voted in Lundas, valid votes.
Can you imagine the condemnation that President Hakainde Hichilema gave to Judge Chulu, demanded his resignation, where he announced in Lundazi the results that were more than the number of people that voted, registered voters. He has 32 constituencies like that. How the, crow come to roost. Welcome to the program, Bachand, and welcome to today's program.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ambassador, and it's a pleasure, being here. And wow, just following up things, pull up a perfect. Yeah. Yeah.
We are tracking the story. The story is that the Chief Justice, started with the first statement from the Chief Justice, Kalumba Chisambisha Slavin, issued a statement that the Chief Justice had received a private email in which, the petition was filed. And the Chief Justice recognized that this was highly irregular. Of course, the courts were closed. Before that, prior to that, the petitioners were harassed, locked up, jailed, and taken out of the country in some cases. and bought, like NRPUP and Secretary General of the party, Zuman Zimba, totally bought. And the Chief Justice says, using his administrative powers as Chief Justice, and which was quite exceptional, he accepted this petition and submitted it to the Constitutional Court for consideration. Then we saw the Chief Justice, we saw the Secretary to Cabinet, Patrick Kekangwa, issue a statement that the swearing on President Hakainde Hichilema, who proceed on Tuesday, 1st September 2026, and he said this was in accordance with the Constitution Provisions Act number 2 of 2016. And then there was an uproar, the social media fierce storm emerged, comparing the two, who's senior, Chief Justice or Secretary to Cabinet, who should determine constitutional matters between Secretary to Cabinet and the Chief Justice. And I think the Chief Justice, as usual, was so embarrassed that at the last minute, towards the end of the day, we saw them leak a story that the Secretary to Cabinet relied on. This was a correspondence written by Nalishebo Imata, the court administrator, who had written to them that there was no petition at the end of the day. Of course, the courts were closed. That's why there was no petition. But although the courts were closed and everyone was forbidden to go to court, she found time to write this on judiciary letterhead and sign it and deliver it. Yet courts were closed across the country, including our office. This is what we are tracking. Today, the newspapers have gone with a story that Patrick Kangwa says the inauguration will go ahead despite the court challenge. We are in an illegal atmosphere. Personally, I've said the president has conducted a coup because he has suspended the constitution. He's jailing people. He has invoked state of emergency without declaring a state of emergency. He's locking up people for so many days. He can close courts. He can suspend the counting of votes. He can deploy soldiers in the totaling centers. Remember, the deployment of soldiers, any movement of soldiers requires the approval of the president. In my view, like I keep on calling it, if it quacks like a duck, walks like a duck, swims like a duck, it is a duck. This is a coup that the president has done. Let me throw the ball to you.
Wow. Then this is very strange, Ambassador. And this will be a very big embarrassment on our judiciary. Chief Administrator cannot ignore the Chief Justice. Then we have a big, very, very big problem. You see, this is a much bigger problem than we anticipate. It's like the judiciary can debate, they deliberate, but the executive can announce the verdict before even the judges finish reading the verdict. The judges have not read the question, the verdict is passed by the executive. Then why bother the courts? Seriously. It's like the next time we have this, we should just send it to State House rather than send it to court. And Zambians must understand this is so much bigger than the political parties. This is going to the very core of our constitution. The issue of the constitutional court vis-a-vis the Supreme Court and vis-a-vis the constitutional president, vis-a-vis the Chief Justice, everybody knows that the Chief Justice is administrative, is a head of the judiciary. And the Secretary to Cabinet knows that the executive does not supervise the judiciary. It doesn't. And what level of arrogance will that be? Where the Chief Justice, probably understanding the pressure that the people are putting or the judiciary gets back to say, yes, this is irregular, but looking at the circumstances that have been created, because there's nothing he can do about the circumstances that have been created. They are being influenced from somewhere. But then he uses his powers to say, yes, even when it is irregular, I'm receiving it, I confirm receiving it, and I'm forwarding it to the relevant authority. That should have called the chief administrator and the secretary to cabinet to sit down and look at what the chief justice has done. Consult with him. Now he goes ahead and he announces that, oh, we're going to rely on what they're going to rely on what the chief administrator has done, and therefore the inauguration will go ahead. It can't be like that. It can't be like that. The chief justice needs to be consulted. They need to get back to him, sit down, probably away from the cameras. Sit down and look at what is provided for in our constitution, and also what the people, the owners of the constitution, are saying. You cannot simultaneously tell the citizens that Zambia is governed by the rule of law while behaving as though political timetable has already overruled the justice system. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't just work like that. You know, if the petition is frivolous, the Constitutional Court must determine that. If there is no legal consequence, then the Constitutional Court pronounce it. But don't have the executive standing outside the courtroom shouting, hey, no inauguration is going to go on. They are creating a system that there is no confidence in our democracy. And we still think as Zambians that our democracy must survive. Our democracy must be given time. Our democracy must be given prominence. You see, Ramwamba, if the secretary to cabinet and the chief administrator misconducts themselves for that, they will have to be held in contempt. They will have to be held in contempt. Let the judiciary pronounce itself. Let the Constitutional Court have a say. That is what people are looking for. We know that it is the judiciary is extremely under pressure. Just like the president had said that in his address, the video that we just played here, about how he viewed the Constitutional Court to have been handled at the time. And it's like a playbook just happening in real time, every word for word. And I like it that you see, social media does not forget. What we say now, today, what we are saying here, is something that will be held accountable in future. People know that the Constitution is bigger than President Hakainde. It's bigger than Chief Justice Maria. It's bigger than Secretary to Cabinet Patrick Kam. It's bigger than UPND. It's bigger than PF. It's bigger than any political party. Everyone knows that. Why are we killing democracy? Why are we allowing these people to kill democracy? Madam Linda Kasonde does what is like against all odds. They managed to find the Chief Justice. They managed to file in, and the Chief Justice accepts that. And then we want to have the men, the law of men, these men and women, to come and overtake the judicial process. We can't have that. We cannot just have that. Everybody is complaining about that. Let the wheels of justice keep moving. Don't stop them. The inauguration, yes, if it is just forced on people, like they're saying, it will be a coup d'etat. I would classify it the same way that, oh, now there has been a coup d'etat on the Constitution. How would you deploy soldiers? How would you suspend You have suspended most of the constitutional provisions without actually pronouncing it. If you want a state of emergency, just do it, and then do what you want to do. But you've no state of emergency. You're saying the rule of law is still at play, but everything that you're doing is to destroy what the very foundation of our democracy. The courts are closed. Like yesterday I told you, it's a crime scene. People have gone away home, and yet you have people that are saying they are working. How does that just work out? Now you have time now to respond, but you do not have time to receive. Why is it not coming from the Chief Justice, who had time to receive the petition and has given it to the Constitutional Court? This is not going away. Yes, they could be used, they can use power, they can use overrule. It will not go away. It will keep coming back. Even if it is forced on people, it's ignored, the military is used, whatever you do is not going to go away. It will still come back and haunt the people that are taking advantage of the powers that have been given by the same constitution. If you can't respect the constitution yourselves, but you want us to be respecting the verdict of the constitution, how are people going to respect the constitution in parts and bits? You beat up people, you arrest people, you make sure that people cannot talk freely. And by the way, even when the people that are doing this, they understand, as Zambians, we talk. It's very difficult to gag down the Zambians that they will be beaten into submission and they will not talk. They will talk today, they will talk tomorrow, and they will talk at every forum, including the international forum. People will talk about what is going on. Zambians, we are known for that. We don't like when someone tampers with the freedom. You can tamper with some of the things that you can do, but don't touch the freedom. President H, there's a history. There's where you're coming from. There are things that you have said which are evidenced. How do you answer to those? The only thing that you start receiving now is when you talk as a citizen, is now the praise singers gang up and tell you to keep quiet, shut up. Them are using the same freedom of expression to tell us and shut us up, but we shouldn't have the same freedom to tell them what we think. In a democracy, you can't do that. Those who keep saying they were protecting it, they are protecting what? They must trust the systems. How can we trust systems that are bent on oppressing people? The Secretary to Cabinet knows the powers of the judiciary. The Secretary to Cabinet knows the powers of the legislature and also his own powers. What we may plead for is that Wakangwa do not accept to be used in a certain manner. Take leave from the Chief Justice, because for me, I have said it here, the Chief Justice was one of the people that I had every confidence when he was appointed, because when you look at his track record before the Chief Justice, it is something that we were proud of. He would stand firm when anyone abused the human rights. At the Human Rights Commission, the Chief Justice now was solid. He didn't care what the government would do. He would pronounce himself and make sure that the rights of people are heard. And this time, Chief Justice, that is exactly the position that you must take, that these rights of ordinary citizens, interested parties, are heard. The same way you protected people's rights at the Human Rights Commission is the same way you can protect the Zambian rights, and you can protect this country from being taken advantage of by selfish people. The ambassador, you brought out the things that have made the military a little bit paralyzed. Accusations that are littered in the military. Our men and women in uniform understand that. At times you run short of words, you kind of run short of words that what has happened to us. And like we have said, no one can do it for Zambians. The Zambians must stand up to act on this. I hear people say, oh, there shouldn't be this, there shouldn't be that. People, what do you advise people to do? Is it to sit down and say, okay, time will tell. Let's fold our arms and they say, okay, let's just give up. Because giving up is what is being wished for by the people that are oppressing. The cadres cannot take control of the constitution while its good men are watching. Kudos to Brevna Changara. You are a solid man. You have been consistent for many, many years. Chapter 1 Foundation, Linda Kasonde. You're a woman that has proved this time around that it doesn't matter. You've thrown and put your life there on the line and taking the bull by the horns. And that is the support that every Zambian needs. We need to support these people to make sure that the petition is heard. The petition must be heard. If we ignore the petition, we allow this to go through, we will be creating a system for ourselves that will be very difficult to handle in the near future, because it may not be President HH. He can do this and move through, lead and say, what will come of us tomorrow when a different person comes and becomes worse than what we are seeing here? If we look the other way on this particular matter, we should be learn that even in future we have to look the other way. You have seen how there's constant reminder of the past. And I like it because they use it where we are coming from. The UPN uses that very well. Oh, where we are coming from, we were being beaten. Where we are coming from, we were being insulted. Where we are coming from, this. They state facts. It's not that what they say or what you stated is not there. You state what the experience was. But what platform did you run on? You ran on a platform to change and not to come and enhance the bad things that you experienced. You ran on a platform to enhance the rule of law. That was your message. You ran on the platform of uniting the country, respecting the constitutional provisions. You ran on professionalism. What has happened? What has happened? Every time you are told about the current mistake, what do? You remind us of the past judgment and not your current judgment. What are you going to do going forward? Respect the provisions of the Constitution. You are being judged harshly, yes, now because of what you said. It's not anyone who said it, you said it yourselves. You promised. Many civil society organizations supported the UPND government, many of them. You can talk about last September Foundation. Academicians like Dr. Shishua. And that is why it hurts for most of those that sat down, took time, supported you, and then they see you flip and then go after them. We can't be having people get killed because of exercising their constitutional rights. We can't. And look at it. Instead of talking about accountability, what are we talking about? No, we must move on. Yes, we should move on, but there must be accountability. And very soon, If this is forced, on the people, then you will hear, Bamambai can tell you here, and many Zambians, that what you're going to come and hear will be now, oh, let's move on. This has passed. Oh, let's sit down now. Let's heal. The way of healing. Let's heal. Let's just move on as a people. Oh, it's one Zambia, one nation. Yes, I agree with all those. But where is accountability? Where is accountability? Where is accountability on the people that have killed other people?
Indeed, PS, where is accountability? And that's a question. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. We'll be inviting you to ask your question or make your contribution. Now, the call of action to Zambians. Secretary to Cabinet says inauguration will go on. Yesterday we were discussing that the petition must be heard and your voice must count. Now they are ignoring all that. They are proceeding to stage an inauguration for the president whose legal challenge to that office is being subverted, is being stopped. What do? You voted. You protected the vote. You have a duty to protect the result of that vote. And where the election was stolen, you have a duty to ensure that you return that stolen election. The election petition calls for the nullification of this election by the ECZ, and the courts should nullify it. But the courts have been denied to have that opportunity. The petitioners are being prevented in this process. We are glad that one petition somehow sneaked in through a private email. What will you do with what Linda Kasonde did? What will you do with what Patrick Kango has announced that is going to go ahead and prepare an inauguration for President Hakainde Hichilema next Tuesday, 1st September 2026? That is a call to action. Let's take the calls and let's hear from you. Hello, caller, please tell us your name and where you are calling us from and make your contribution.
Okay, mukamba na wazambia kurusaka kabarana.
Kamba mponi wa Zambia.
Ine mwameneni onera. Bonse vama petition apa program ili na wa president wa HH. Olo basambamo bakamba bwanji program ili na eve. Why? Sembi wapitiriza kusambamo kuti imwe vandu valira petition. So tizaenda bwanji ku inauguration ceremony. So if TN VCN abantu bachite petition tione mamene naendera maandani my election. Then too politician venangu why is wanagwepo basira chabeblani mundu vile sembe wagwapo politician wena Fred Membe na hali kalava wagwapo taona kuti Zambia yenda bwanji. Ndiye vamene ningakambe but va HH ni pretense chapeyo vazi vavonse mwamene viendera ziko.
Thank you very much. Let's hear from callers. Hello, caller, please tell us your name and where you are calling us from and make your contribution. Hello, caller. Yo twavuka.
No, leo mfa program ya also na ine contribution ya ndio roko pia kwande mwasho kwaso nomba isikurisharengesha ti lesari ya magoti ngabali wenu isikurisharengesha ti lesari ya magoti sisi because one Zambia, one nation. One Zambia, one nation. Meaning kwebati umuntu uli wonse nakwata amaisosere. Nombanishi amaisosere oro kwafuirisha Zambia nishikorea kuisa oro korea kuli pesa. Because yakwebati abantu abalefwa kwafuirisha Zambia. There is no need lesari ya magoti at time yakwebati kuli ama petition. benanga balishibya tinaba wena mwishireso tabaiseri hapa koti so nomba hapo mwalatu wafuashani ba mwamba kukarati charo cha Zambia the Zambian one Zambia one nation takulia tinikaonde takulia timubemba takulia wamushipata tauli wakuisa one Zambia one nation mwalatu wafuashani uli imwe mkutu wafuilisha yafuwe mazambians
imwe mazambians mwala yafuashani ineni mipera information.
Yeah.
It's not what I can do for you or what you can do for me. It's what you can do for your own country. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from and make your contribution.
And I'm Blessing Mwanza from SOS.
Make your contribution.
Ikanya petition wacha ikinoa President Wadmati baza vanana chita baza timaliza ya since free and fair so kudi veve swanga evomeli bafuna veve ba type ba inauguration ceremony bapitirize ma movement yao bapitize kutivutisa like what did ma plan wadinayo bafuna yambo tani kata ni Mr. Honorable President wa mnduwile ni makebizu bafuna mbo tivutisa sani plania chani so plania mushe country yatu so goal so plania mushe country yatu so goal like tatu watu wa isi chani wa ICO banona pwasa petition weve so naikani ya 2016 so naikani but they've been tabusa pari muvali mu offense petition yatu bafuno ikana funo tia kivila see the free and fair Mr. Emmanuel Mwamba see free and fair.
Thank you hello caller, please tell us your name and where you are calling us from and make your contribution.
This is Mr. Sims calling you from within Lusaka. Good morning, Ambassador Mwamba.
Mr. Sim, make your contribution.
Thank you so much. Ambassador Mwamba, we can't run away from the fact that currently things are not okay in our country. Looking at the issues that are happening, we can't relax and say things are okay. The closure of the courts. Why is the president scared? If indeed he won clearly. So we want the courts to be opened. We want the petition to be addressed. We want to know what really happened. We want to know what happened to Honorable Mtoto Kafwaya. How was he shot? Who authorized it? I thank you.
Thank you very much. Hello caller, please tell us your name and where you are calling us from and make your contribution.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Ambassador.
Good evening.
Thank you. As I make this call, I look at this election. I have in mind, number one, Ronald Chitotela in prison. I have in mind Bowman Lusambo. I have in mind our man that lost his wife, his father in prison. Now,
Nixon Chilangwa.
Mr. Nixon Chilangwa. These people are actually looking to Zambians. You know, Ambassador, there is a time when we pray. And there is a time when God will have answered the prayer and expect us to take a step. That is how it works. Even the children of Israel, there were moments when they prayed, they wanted to hear what God was saying. And there were moments when God will respond and they would pray that God will actually hand, their enemies into their hands. And they did that. What am I saying? Zambia, where we are, forget about any normal processes, be it through the courts. I think we should learn from what has been happening the past 5 years. Who has gone to court and won against this government? Nobody. Look at the issue of Patriotic Front. How long did it? It just kept changing room after room, room after room. Until today, it's no more. It is non-existent. The same way, this Whether, the petition was filed, we know what this is all about. I know sometimes it's good for records, but the reality is there is absolutely nothing that would actually take off from there. Until we Zambians, just like the president had mentioned way back, he said the Malawans stood up and put pressure. And when the court saw the pressure from the streets, they had no option but to give what was right. And this is what Zambians need to do. It reminds me of a story, Ambassador Mwamba, of the children of Israel when they were to take over Canaan. When they went to spy, most of them went there and looked at themselves. When they came back to give a report, they said, we look like grasshoppers. In other words, they told themselves and convinced themselves, we cannot fight this. This is the situation we are in as Zambians. We have soldiers, police, and everyone. But do not underestimate God's power and grace. Until we gather courage and stand up peacefully and say, no, that voice on the street is powerful enough to sway the decision of these political powers that we have. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from and make your contribution. Endita.
Bamwamba ine ichilempa kusha ifokwebe na Zambia uwafya kwete kulesa pa platform apa ukulando kwebati bamwamba batere solution kushemo bamwamba inchito yo intu muleko mbe ikalambeyo imote kwebati mule ilandira kuletwa kwa kwebe na Zambia mo okuntu mwikete na mwikara pe bwino ifofwe bakala kapita monifwe echocho nde chitafi ukuli ifofwe na Zambia eti twambe ukula ipusha bamwamba ati yo bamwamba tuchiteshani twebe nisha kuchita libe nishituli kuno ifofwe barechula nifwe mamona ifo nifofwe ngafwa solution ifo twingachita twala chitashani kweba ati tuirubule kweba ati aba bantu kwekonkanya kwemisango shintu barechi and futi nechingalipe nangule chonde papa chakweba ati ushe muno muzambia teti kubefe abantu abengafumanga fili yawo ya vice president wa Tanzania fintu achitire ukuchitafe nangu ni design nangu akana sokweba tawo ifintu abena Zambia bare pitamu ine techo ningakonkanya hapo kwa mutego muchalo cheso nati mono kweba takuli nangu shuwa nangu ni chief justice nangula uli onse fe nangu masoja bene abo bene bakano kweba tawo ifikire chitikira bena Zambia tafiwe abalukwata ko inkumbu bakwata ko oluze kubena Zambia mamon ero chimbi ba mwambana bakonkwa inecho nde papa ba plan mundibire nangula na fimfentu ngulu shbalera ndokwe bati amasoja baisa tabalanda ne chibengi apa pene nga twachite protest kushenga kwa alife nangu twamunyanta ko fe nangu kakondo musoja umo twamunyanta ku kakondo fe twamfa kushichitundu shalera ndo umuntu amshuwanga kwa ali atwamba protest yaine kuti twakwata ko chance yakwe bati musoja twamunyanta ko fe kakondo twamfa kushichitundu shalera ndo umuntu pala pene potungeshiwo kwe bati abantu ma foreigners bafuma kufyalo kwimbi because umuntu kateko oli pali noshita it's like not tushitisha nomba kubena fyalo kwe bati bare tipa because awa masoja batitumine tatubeshibe ngabamuno ngabafumine kufyalo fingi nomba muntu nshimilidi nilida nsho ino kwe bati apata vekala chalo ayasenda abantu bakumbi abamiti meshi baba kwe bati balesa kama no kwipa monefu baipe mtoto kapwa tabalesa kama na beno kaidu muntu musoja fewa muno mwine muzambia bala kwatoro samono kwe bati fintu nde fintu abena sichalo bale pitamoni nkwata ba blulu andabe kere kulya koze awa masoja tabafuma kufina mayo bantu twikara na bena bamuba bachebesu bamuba kalamba besu kirafine bare mona mchalo mfutureika lero nombo muntu atumina abantu abakwe batwese mkulatipa natwikara fetulera ndo kwe bati yoba mwambo batipangire solution bamwambo okuntu bali balekala bwino tabalechula nokutu tamona 5 years ni forever lero abapene panta balamu tani inauguration bantu bamwamba kale twambe program ngatulelanda tulelanda pakirimba pati natikosa sana yo twalashwe fo twalachita mwali umfako nangwa mangunyali yonso kwe bati kuzambia kwa bakachitika kukudaba chitire protest nibukuwe buntu kwete nomba bukuwe bwesu wala tuletera twala kapitamo na 5 years ifi ala shara nomba bakala tebo kwe bati 18 hours 17 hours ushingire munganda ala isa eka tukala ikatwe ofini so apapa ntrendera apa nifuwe bokwe bafiro kuirubula tupange solution efo tingairubula twala irubula shani no kuirubula kumono kwe making sure kwe bati yo inauguration into bali ko kuchita tabafiro kuichita ero tatufire twambo kulolero kwe bati mpaka de bakambo kuchitero ero kusachita protest apa pene po tufire twafwa ma solutions twala chitashani twala irubula shani abo bamwamba balekeni ko kwine bale bomba na bena jofine vintu bale bomba na bagazia abo bamdala abapalene n'abakampyongo ne bapalanya n'abakampyongo bale bombe njito ikalamu tabakese kono kuisa kuno bakala ikala no kuikala ko bale ikala bwe sentu irubule tumole so twala irubula ko bekala cha natotera bamwa.
Thank you very much. Atna bapala bakampyongo ai akazabe namba labo kampyongo mwina shwangandu. Hello, caller, please tell us your name and where you are calling us from and make your contribution.
I'm nationally unable Teresa from England, they say.
Mkwaiwa Teresa, make your contribution.
And inoishita ya luchelo ndefo kulanda kopa nono sana pamlandu wa ukuwe kwa chama shu Yesu ya umfika. Ilili nende umfwa kwena nde umfwa nde nambo kutontonga na kuba nensu ama Iranians ishba kwete situation yabo bali mine bambi kulanda peacefully bali makulanda ni balongana bale extra protest abali mufyalo efya kusana bali ima in different places baima bale extra protest bakwata mashu yabo yomfiki Fuebena Zambia, chachine, kuli kumfomo enzo bantu ba UPNZ na ba shuba. The longest fine ba mwamba ba to afilisho kutwego ko bati. Kuti to achita protest peacefully. Chachine sana. Whether to the diaspora, nangu to the Zambia, you don't need to go to Lusaka to go and be heard. You don't need to go to court kula kwine ku high court pakubati mwaya umfika. Ifa finenga muli kukitwe. Kuti kwabo okukumana mu town peacefully. Abali kuchingola bakumana peacefully. Abali kulanda ni kwali ba Zambians. Twakumana. Abali ku America in different places Zambians. Twakumana. Ni tulefwaya okuchinja. Kiki tulefwa okuchinja? Tulefwa democracy. Baka inde chachine bali bomba twali totela baka inde ngamule umfo mwali bomba twatoti but twali kwata voice ngachako bati twasango ko bati fintu tafire bomba bwino twali kwata ensambu isha kulanda. Help will not come from heaven. Help ikafuma kuli ifwe bene. Then secondly abalera ndokuba tufire twapepa ninchisuminisha sana na inewine you know Nehemiah nisha umfiro kwe batama ama buildings ya ku Jerusalem nayo naika. First yako yalipona. He prayed. Takafene mfumu Nehemiah tali ku Jerusalem. Ali kuchalo chindi. And he prayed and God answered his prayer. So for us who are talking about prayer, prayer is important. Those that can pray and fast, please by all means. This thing as I've been looking at it, but even when it is spiritual. But if you remember so well, for the better my examples about Israel, there was a time abena Joshua balea mkulu atabalea fya mkulu bambita bashere balebisa those intercessors mweba na bakwalesa not kuva kwata mulibe na Christ because you want to be heard. Please intercessors pray. As we are praying, this spiritual thing will be fought physically. Those that can go on the ground peacefully go and be heard. All you need to go is in your t-shirts. Like I heard somebody was saying, black t-shirts to Ayalongana. If we don't start now, we start on Saturday, we are done. Those that can go on specific days, if it means going on Thursday, here in London we meet, in America we meet, and there are cameras to post the body by one, but not to come and Zambians because to la wera, not to come and Zambians. Yes, Baka in them about to ruling for a long time. Thank you, sir. You've done your great job. However, now if we're not to more, or to watching the focus to maintain peace. Zambia is a Christian nation and you have maintained it as a Christian nation. But there are certain things that we need to continue. Chukuchita encourage not just Banamaya, not Batata, na mweba lumendo ukuluata kukulete fintuko na ule fintu takuchitana ngufimu. But let our voices speak. Nishama voices aya. Ehelande chikalamba. Elo abantu abafu aba. Mwebana bakwalesa imilo pashiralanda. You remember when Ken I say brother wako. Nishe salanda esando kuba ningumfa brother ove umulopa wako ulelanda. Ababonsa abafwa innocently. Imilo pashawo they are also speaking. So let our voices be louder, but our actions they can be namapanga. Ushadi sojan shiringesa yaisa kutampo kukupanda ulango ilefyo mutendi. Nangu yeno mutende ngaisa na ngaresa mkukupanda ula. Aisa mona uli no mutendi. Takupanda ule. If people in London vaisa minina ama Iranians, not just Iranians, there was a time ama Israelites na bena minina kunuku London. And we were watching pachtunshi. Those in London, we should not just speak about it on the ground. Let's go to London and meet. We will take pictures. Those that are in Zambia, in different parts of the nation, peacefully, let's walk to the civic center and just say, President West to Atotela, but to Efokwishiba, not to protect of Wasadire. I submit. Thank you so much, Mr. Mwamba. And I was so encouraged to hear that you are a born again man.
Thank you, my dear sister. Thank you. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from and make your contribution.
Okay, this is Deska calling from Busaka Matero. Good morning, Ambassador Mwamba.
Yes, what Deska, make your contribution.
Okay, Zambians, most of the times what we have observed is we don't pay much attention to what this current government is doing. You know, when we talk about this issue, Labrani Munduvire, Yeba Guiramo na George Sanga, na Venangu, Nankani Ebashta created Tiamirisha. If we remember very well, PS Wataukawana, he refused. Even the PS for defense, that one who is a judge, Hamaundu, they also refused. Now, if we can have a judge in the name of Hamaundu with those lies, how do we expect our courts to operate in this country currently? We know very well that this current leadership of the UPND, there is a lot of lies such that this country we can't even develop. Now they're expecting us people to heal. How are we going to heal if they can't allow us to go to the courts? Because we know very well that the courts are the only place where we can air out our grievances. So now, if they put the soldiers, what do they expect us to do? Automatically, he knows very well to say, Bantu Azakalipa, Bakakalipa, Bantu, they will go in street, and the moment we go in street, they will come with full force now to break each and everyone's legs or to shoot everyone. These people, they don't care, but we do play. If we can go into the street, we know very well that whatever they want to do, it's okay, it's fine, they can do to us, because we are fighting for the betterment of this country, Zambia.
Thank you very much. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from and make your contribution.
Good morning. I'm calling from diaspora. I'm a Zambian citizen.
Make your contribution, my dear sister.
Ambassador, I think that in our understanding of where we are as a continent, it will be very important for Zambia's bilateral relations and the future of Pan-Africanism. We as Africans are one. If there's any way to reach out to our brother in Tanzania, I don't know how wide your broadcast is, but I believe God. Ambassador, people have been praying. And the blood of those people who died in Tanzania has not been shed in vain. It still cries out. If there's any way, if there's any proof that the Tanzanian army was deployed indeed to Zambia, let the president of Tanzania and the former president of the Republic of Zambia answer to the law. African lives matter. The people who died in Tanzania, they still cry. And it is my prayer that even as we have upheld peace in Zambia, Zambia ba ambassador te Tanzania, Zambia te Congo te Malawi, we have a very educated people. You are a living testament of the goodness and the mercy of God in diplomacy, in wisdom, in understanding, in grace. We thank God for you. Indeed, you're a gift, not just to Zambia, but to Africa. We appeal, we pray that the mercies of God locate his heart and use him in this moment to stand with the Zambian people. He obviously has a conscience, and we thank God for what he has already done. We wait for more, but I am appealing to the citizens of Tanzania. If there's any information, any evidence of the mobilization of the Tanzanian army into Zambia, we need it. Thank you, Ambassador.
Thank you very much, my sister. Thank you very much. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from and make your contribution.
Good morning, Mahomba.
Good morning.
Yeah, so, I would like to concur with a lady caller that suggested to say the protests should start in the diaspora. I think that idea is a crack code to the problem that we have. It seems people in Zambia are scared, so they will need some people to influence, especially if it starts from there. It can be done legally. People in London share the voice of Zambia and Mfoko, other people organize Zambians. I'm sure Zambians, true honorable Zambians, I'm sure there are people, Zambians there, that are not happy with the situation in this country. So if it starts from there, the international media will pick it. People will see it on social media. People will start the protest, a peaceful protest. I submit.
Thank you very much. Let's hear from you. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from and make your contribution.
Yes, good morning, Ramwamba. My name is Tinta. I'm calling from Lusaka.
Thank you.
I wanted to make my contribution. You know, what is happening is very unfortunate in this country. And unfortunately, we Zambians do not stand together. You know, we have been through so much. We have been through so much as a country. And to going back 50 years back or 60 years back is really unprecedented. We need to stand up as Zambians and fight for our freedoms and fight for our democracy. There is no way that Abantu, they can now want to grab our country from us. There is absolutely no way that we should stand aside and see a dictator forming. Everybody, unless you are a Dao Zambian, you know that these elections were rigged. These elections were not ours. Our votes were stolen. You saw how the elections went. You saw how the army stepped in. You saw how they grabbed the elections from us. So that petition has to go through. There's absolutely no way that even Patrick Kangwa can stand and say, no, the inauguration will go through. No. Who's Hakainde Hichilema? This is not Hakainde Hichilema's country. It's not his grandfather's country. No. Absolutely not, Ramwamba. There's absolutely no way that Zambians, and it's true, we need to go in the streets and protest. There's constitution. We need to abide by the laws and the rules of the constitution. There's no way that a Zambian can be above the law. Who's Mr. Hakainde Hichilema? We should go back. We should go back. We should go back and not be represented properly? No. Zambians need to stand up and rise. There's absolutely no way that we're going back into a dictatorship, because this is a dictatorship. And I'm sorry to say this, but I am going to stand firm and say this government is running like a mafia government. There's absolutely no way that we should stand by. Thank you. That's my contribution.
Thank you very much. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from and make your contribution.
Mwashubukeni Mkwai.
And
I'm calling from Lusaka,
yes.
and I would like to remain anonymous.
Thank you, Anonymous.
Mkwai, I think if we try to I think what we need to do is just to take an action. And firstly, I would suggest to Zambians, if we can change the dress code for now, we start wearing black and purple all the time so that things are not okay. I think for those who are white, they can pick something to say there's something wrong. Everyone, we just change. Whether you are home, we are in town, you put on black and purple. We are mourning for real. And then, by the time no, let's take an action, to be too late. I don't know what is holding on to us for us to take a peaceful demonstration. Yesterday, there was a suggestion. Somebody said, why can't we meet at Kaunda Square? Kaunda Square, I don't know where it is, whether it's in town or where. We meet from there, then we demonstrate. I'm sure I saw some people were for the idea, others were against it. So I don't know what else we want. You've given us, you've opened up our minds, and we've seen the need of us to carry out the peace protest. So I don't think you're not violent, you're not doing anything, you're not attacking them. We just want to make sure that our voices are being heard. Because if you don't do it now or this week, it will be too late for us to take that action. So I think the earlier we do it, the better. So those who are in agreeable, we can find a neutral place where we can meet, whether post office in town or anywhere where people, or maybe government complex in Gamara. I think anywhere where people, at least it's easy for everyone to reach there. Because we need to have in mind that some people will come from maybe where they'll need to use maybe 2 buses. So the central place is better. So that at least everyone, maybe if it's using buses, maybe you just use one once and then you get to the venue. I think that's my suggestion. Thank you, Rama.
Thank you very much. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from and make your contribution.
Anonymous Ramwamba. I'm not feeling well, but I just thought I also throw a word. I have heard people talking about what the subject is about, where Zambians need to rise up to stand for what they think is right. And it's like so they don't want to be seen that they are doing something. But I've been suggesting, and I'll still come back to my suggestion, that why don't we, I know most of the families in Zambia now have got cars, like it was at the time of the third term, Umuliba Chiluba. They suggested we just hoot at a certain time. Why can't we hoot, those that can put on black, but those with cars, they can also just state a time. Is it 12 hours or 13 hours? Everybody, whether you are driving or not, just, hoot. It will send a message. It sent a message that people were refusing the third term. Why can't we use the same mode if we can't meet? That's my suggestion.
Thank you, Mama. Thank you. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from. Make your contribution. Bazambia Kambampon.
Ise sticker na isi Mazambia kushita protects. Oh no. Tamechi tipa ise kuno tiruling wana army. Tikaenda mu street u. Bazabwa batigwire, batuza titenze na mapanga, tifuno pwanya vindu. But ise tili la unkala Mazambian. So ise tipempa kuya wamerai mutari wakayamba. Then Mazambo kopa. Na ise kuno tizanka na courage ya kuti. Ngaba jamanzati kuja kupepa mene wachita na ise tili. Because apa government ili pomanji. Ni army. Ukanyamuka chabi. Wanyamuka bwino no kalikonsi. Basika kukambatia wenze na vaso. Vamene wenze libi. Vamene bapayo wa innocent souls. Ni mambili, blood ya mene yataikiwa. But vaya diakilila. Kuipe vamene vikambi wapo. So, I think titandizilani because otherwise tilila. tili la government ilipo simwamini siko.
Thank you very much. Hello, caller, please tell us your name and where you're calling us from and make your contribution.
Hello bamwamba mwa ukabweno.
Tauka mlibwanje.
Tauka bweno. Awe nikambako pali vanhu vachikwa kukamba apo vakutadati vamaenda vakafuna kunyamuka vapolisi vaenda kuchita chanichi kuvagwira. But muziva maybe svamaenda kuchita chanichi kwenda kufunza kupolisi because isunganyamuke chapi mwambushita protest ufunga mwenda pa police pa nearest police station mwabauza kuti ife tifuna kushita protest rodea so ngani pamene apa so positive pafuna pamene vochitika chitika pamene ivi so ni kwenda pa nearest chan police station mwabauza kuti tifuna kushita protest. I think pa police swangalezi but mkabwa mwanyamuka chabe kupira pamene baziza kuti atimwenda kushita protest izanka ni problem ndiye paja manje ba police manje wapeska banyamuka manje mushita chani mwabamba manje vachongo mwaona tipempera kuti ati Mulungu atithandize tipempera kuti vintu viende bwino kulibe wakutadati wapempera wankhala ukamba tatiya inisakira ntchito nipempera ntchito ifa nipeze ntchito unankhala uli munyumba Mulungu saza bwera ukamba kutadatiya imwe bali sitiyeni apa mushite bwanji mwende ku ntchito ili paja ndile mwino wake kunyamuka kwamba kusakira ntchito metika kamba tatitiyo patishita manda kulibe lero echecha kapita tili mu disaster tizavutika zata kupapa maimbwa kusiya vana muona na charumwa mene chionekera kuipa cha HH kona tiluringila chapi. This is disaster mwandi tifika chape kunyamuka kati ku police tende ku police tibauze vantu tibauze wa police tifuna tiste protest no chapeta panga chapeteka teka tanyamuka taenda usikapa na kai group ishita chani so it's
thank you. Hello caller, please tell us your name and where you're calling us from. Hello caller.
Hello, good morning.
Hello caller, please tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
Nani mas wa Mwamba. Mr. Mwamba, people want to protest. Bai mabaya mumusebo. Bamwambanga benga kitafira bakitire ku masoja, benga kitafira ku muntu uli kwetafye nganda. Ira bakitire kuli ba mundu bile balependa amantu eno yabo balepokerera amaliza out baya kitanga fira bakitire bami bamukuipa abantu baba butausha baba nyantawula ku mutwe wati mwa balepita mu musebo abantu baletwana abakalipa nomba teti bembe bami bali mu musebo bami ngolefu mapayali bami bali mu musebo ebwikalo tuikere gwobu wako bati nshisibe obwikalo tabuweme elo obwikalo unless ye but nachi bipa mu Zambia Bamwamba ipo chimipile one Zambia one nation ina irubana upesa kontolola fe one Zambia one nation unless kwa bati imwe ikale ni panshi mu bemi ni ntungulu kikibiri elo kwa badilani elo kwa bokuvota bamwe ntungulu kiya pita bwino ngani ba president ababene ngani ba mundu elo kungaba one Zambia bwino not fei tulimo Bamwamba ili yakwe bati uletina no munove letina no kulanda tawishibe nimbye informa bengishe baisa apulikira abantu manda abantu nabafiro okutetekera koti naba government baba bafiro okubachetekera baba bali mu leadership nabafiro okutetekera ba police nabafiro okutetekera army.
Thank you. Hello caller, please tell us your name and where you are calling us from and make your contribution.
Mwabombeni Bamwamba nifwebo banshilungulwa. Yeah. Well, Bamwamba, I want to make a point. Yeah. Nabonsenga balengu mfuko. Muchalo chesu mu Zambia na tukwata abakulu dazi abatuchirira ifwe bonse fwe balerira. Ifwe amaka yesu fwe bena Zambia fwe ma individuals ya nono sana. Nomba bonse bakulu nikwisa number one question naipusha. Ero chinto chonde Okulanda. For the Chief Justice to acknowledge the petition and to push it to the court is because he knows very well that things aren't very good in Zambia. So I'm appealing to the Chief Justice to push it completely. But Chief Justice Ngamlengu Mfwa Tata,
ka Yesu yali muli imwe ikyalo kya Zambia taata kiri mu minwe yenu apofye namufunye ekyekipepa lekyefunda namukibika na balwalala okwebati nalipokerera enkalata nafyose mwalanda emukwaye twale n'emirandu y'okukooti mwitu kitati point taata ba chief justice uyo mpando mwikeelepo nifwe ebo bene ifwe fwe baana benu fwe balenirira apopo muli taata mwalikwata bana mwalikwata na babululu benu abenyisana muzambia bali affected ero na chimbi chito chondefu kulanda ifwe fwe bantu fwe mazambiani tule ichita victimize tulera ndokweva cheniste tuchitirefi nichite tuchitirefi kufuire kwaba abafuire okuchita push nokwateni tuchitefi ifwe fweka efi abantu balelanda yo era kwachibo abaluba tata bamwe abakisala ndokweva ati ngaba bambi bakala bana banani ishi balekere bamakebizulu nabamundu birebeka lekeni ngebe ekintu kimo bonse mwe balemfa bakala bonse aba mu opposition bali already bali kweta ma jealous kwiba mundu bire nabamakebizulu so teti bachitebena nokutemwa balitemwa twalelira ifwe bena Zambia bali ine platform y'abamwambu kwebati imwe bantu ikataneni takwani na balisa fe mukubwata baisa baina ngumo aiketene ila baisa ikatana basalanga na bonse so balefu okwebati nga chabe babapere ko tufulo so imwe ba KPF imwe ba kalaba imwe ba membe na kwanza mwe ba shala muli bavi aba bitine aba bimuli bantu aba byaba bitisheni tima mulindo shi
How Mayo, Muyoko, thank you very much. Hello, caller, please tell us your name and where you are calling us from and make your contribution.
Mwaikarashani ba mwamba mwempalume Yesu.
Ndita Mayo.
Ndepo afyokulanda kuifo fwe mazambiani. If you have to umbikola kwebati no kuti twaya poka permit. I know I'm a permit tabomba but kuti twaya no kuyasenda ama video pakuti ukwebati abantu beshi batwaliya but ukuya kwena kwebati kukolongana ukuyo kuya supporta kwena kulefwaika because if kwema Zambian if we give up we must know that democracy ya Mzambia. So therefore kulanda kuma Zambia nikwebati mwikwato mpashwa kwebati no let's just leave it leso mwine uishibe ukwato mpashwa if you mpashwa kwebati you are coward we need to go ukuya supporta bakuta abantu beshibe because ngabamona tatulepanga effort tete batu afuilishana outside the countries they can't help us. All our leaders, especially Bakalaba, she's a good girl. How can we, as a leader, she's a good girl? Honestly speaking, what if that women pamonishi chalo chao naika? As a leader, you must live as an example. So next time we're not gonna vote for him because we don't know where he stands. So therefore, I'm a Zambian. Say imini wani kurisha kwa Mandela nishali mu prison ni pueshe yale ngera abasungu release Mandela so if we ngatatwa kosepo bamambo kwebati tuime ukwebati iseni tumise in democracy na monati bakala tupoka amaland bakala tupoka ifidi fiance so imini mwa Zambia so let's compare spirit of fear. Let's compare spirit of to be bold like a lion. So in Zambia, leaders, they are not good leaders. Ama leaders over to when they mwenda for Zambians.
Thank you very much. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from. And Mkwai.
Mwabuka shani.
Landeni ama wangu.
Twatotela sana national yandi wena nagulinga position ifo bali tuishiba. Icho njefo kulanda first nala bali dokumenta ko kyafu mu kulanda ba sister banjabo. Ifo fwebekere mu Zambia batira ti abekala muchimu chichampundu ebo mfwe mpundu ko shirepona na mwachumfwa efyo my sister uyu wachisala na populars to go bati ichalo chatebererwa na masoja. And for sure, speaking honestly speaking, grande chine chinga umusoja eulesangwa nomba pakotu muse umusoja eulesangwa pakotu kulonda kotu umusoja ngaba polisi bali kwisa. So if one wants to go to wako bati ngatwaya pala mu street kwa muta protest tulefwana ntatulefwaya tulea mukulongwa mwamfwa inendeka pili nkuli mu bamwamba. Number 1 babaje pokikate eshamfumu ishamfumu esha tulekesha muno muzambia ifa tuli willing kuta protest instead yonse but ishamfumu tashire twafwa ero ifo tulisho buntungwa ero eshamfumu nomba shikale kala fe mutererwe ukwabule chiri chonse mulamfa bamwamba ifo tuli willing ero ifo twa istika pwe mitoshezu twa istika pwe no bumi bwesu ukoba kuti batete chiri chonse lero amasoje ebo tulero mbafe bafume mu street ifo tute protest. Bantu umulopa wala suma muno Zambia wala furisha ngata watu aimafe mu bushibwalo te protest mwala umfofo cyalaba umwenzo tatukwete umwenzo tatukwete na mfyapa no tatukwete umwenzo aba kwete umwenzo number 1 nisha mfumu ero na mwebere mweba sambira yo akawati tapani fo muleto afwa ubuntu ngwa tulero shoko bati mwebere ngachako bati mwali posele kwa mano Zambia tetifike pali apapo to Afrika umwenzo tatukwete kutwata protest nomba amasoja eba twingisho mwenso ngato afya kind of a mistake panopo tulamya muno mu Zambia ala na chibipa mwe my sister mwe bali kuma UK uko na chibipa na mfema market munga wa ulisa ngo musoja le shinguluka tapani fya le tale shinguluka na vengisho mwenso mulandi wa amasoja efo bafunda masoja bena tababa kwati ba police bali bati police service tabari ngana masoja na ba polisi ba polisi ba wamapo so tutengwa pili ngo bati bafunya masoja mu street bye kali kuma base uko umusoja ule amukajinga nani police station ishu umusoja we kuseva nawe mayoto achikanda wako chala totela bamwambe.
Thank you very much. Hello caller, please tell us your name and where you are calling us from and make your contribution.
Good morning, Ambassador.
Yes.
Ambassador, there is one thing for let's not understand the institution or the the situation in which we are. This country was taken over the day because so the same day I know about my election. That was the same day last week, the soldiers and the police. That was the day this country was taken over. It was a coup, like you have been saying. It was a coup. Then you go over street, passing the chalo. That's why what is happening is, once Balama commanders have they know what is going on. And those are the people who are giving instructions. And but he was doing things in advance. He was ahead of everyone. And the way he was doing things. But he used to say, Nanapona, it is a strategic program, soldiers, not a take over. So he's there, ruling as the president, under the protection of the military. So even if we say today, TNP is going to confront him, I can assure you, there will be a lot of blood in the streets. Because where he is right now, that's how happening.
We begin to take the last callers. Hello caller, please tell us your name and where you are calling us from and make your contribution.
Good morning, Mamaka.
Good morning.
I'm calling from Motola, Emmanuel.
Yes, Emmanuel, make your contribution.
Yeah, Mamaka, contribution and anda kumtemba mbaya mtobo tebakulawo.
Akulandire mufoni yama.
Hello?
Akulandire mufoni mule umfiko kutali.
Nalandila Muchirenga, ayoku bakulawo.
Mkwai.
Contribution yandiri ati inende itafyama civil society organizations like Africa Scholars Valandire ukupanga protest chibapanga but chirafaika you notify the police ero ba police bamipela go ahead
vampera kona protection. So chirefu kama civil society organization of Wapata Zambia, where are you? And Wafilevaya, at least Wapoka permit. Then obviously, once they get that permit, Zambian state was looking by my numbers, then but then I advertise for on such a date. But what protest, peaceful protest, Zambian state was looking. And on Bakai, each should an organization was about to buy a protest.
Thank you. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from and make your contribution.
I'm also calling you from Zambia. Am I clear, Ambassador Emmanuel?
Yes, you are.
We're doing an excellent work. Well, what is there is that Zambia now is effectively under a military one-party state. This is where we have reached. There have never been a time in the history of this country where the courts have been closed to block a petition. Well, if it wasn't the opposite, the petition has been received now. Why are they not honoring it so that this case is heard? What is there is that...
Continue. Oh, he got cut. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from and make your contribution.
Bamwamba mwashibukashani na national yanzikwe nandi wa anonymous. Chondefo okulanda po chakutire fresh ka Mzambia tafiwene. Then ukupapo akwandi ba chief justice nishi bale 10 mu mulandu nga bali pokerera ama petition. Then tu kuya musewe fofine bazabambi bakola basesa justice twakumana ngani kaunda square ngani kuisa the problem. Where the problem is mumusebo monse muli amasoja. Bali amasoja bali emini na nemfuti. So chonse chila chakutushita deprive ama rights yesu aya kutira tuyamukuchita protest. The president himself said nga tulefwa tuachita protest. Even if he said that babwela babika amasoja se back to yamukuchita protest. My advice to the president would be whatever the people that are complaining, why can't he work on the same weaknesses abantosho bali dandaula po since tabalefu kumapali u president. Kuti babombera pali nchochine bamona tifipire dandaula abantu tina chitashani nomba since chonse tabalefu ya so ifu twala chitashani napera mkwa win.
Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from and make your contribution.
Thank you. I'm Webster Chwesa, calling you from Tanzania. Thank you so much, Ambassador, and all people. One thing I want to mention,
you are breaking.
Ni action fyofine wonse bakalanda balelanda na twime wonse fyofine bachilanda ba sister ba mu bachilanda ukila mu matown yo mutuwelele nga mu Lusaka mu Chingola kukitwe na yonse ama town tuchite group up so that tuchite nani kane tuchite protest peacefully bakainde na bakwata bale working up pamulandi na bamono kukila ati na tukwata omwenso wingi sana if you bale chita bale afi pantanji fofini na tuime peacefully tuamwenesho kutila hao itatuleba fire if you bale chita na makamaka ichi cha kuchita nani kane cha kuleta dictatorship echo tatule fire sana kwa inatasha sana ba ambassador.
Thank you. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling from and make your contribution.
Hello, Mwabombeni wa Mwamba.
Mkwai.
Ambassador, amali ashkwena yale mfika wa ambassador option tatkwete yakulanga efetule mfamu katika mitima yesu kuba mu street nomba wa ambassador ine naba sana concern. Yesterday wankasheso baliri mutambo balishire pa platform pamweno hapa nali mwana bali kola sana no gusta encourage that no petition naye petition naye So lero kuli miseperesha iperesho kweva chara spe demonstrate peacefully mukati ka Lusaka kulingana nefe bali mufamene n'abapere bamundibire amavotes nomba babakanya kuli baliri mutambo kweva tiyo petition taire fwaikwa mu group yange bareba abantu atiyo tamo demonstration taire fwaikwa nomba twarabo mbashani wa ambassador bali ashira campaign twarepokerera ma confusion ya makuli bena tware karatondoro nomba bapone na moshani na muri ashiri iri akora tararike misepero kweva tibe ya mu street yafuma kwisa tantu bwasha tripo wa ambassador na ukula nomba bena bapura moshani fish baratu wafanga bambokula kanya abana atiyo musta demonstrate yo ni ndote filosofia musango efi bambokula bika abantu umwanso beminine pesa ba ambassador ine na unboxa kamana aba icho bonsa ba iperesho kwebati tubafora kwa t-shirt ya black baenda kwa street na abakanya ruchero chero abene na ma groups yabo mu baba to don't demonstrate romba bare to afwanshi baliri mutambo ba ambassador ine na bo wasakamana bushebe minine pesa pakwa mbokora ingisha abantu impepo nabeshiba ikintu turengiramo nabeshiba ikintu turengiramo bali mona na lete ya rembere bakangwa iya kwebati bo ebarefu abomfye bufuntungu bakashiteso ya impali ya lete nomba abantu beme basite demonstrate bamwe bene again beme barekanya abantu atiyo muichita muya street nishiri pesa po beminire ba ambassador tumwaranda kona bina ambassador I submit.
Thank you. I think we've come to the end because, like I said, I've got a program later. Let me just bring in Bach and hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from and make your contribution.
Hello, Mr. Mamba.
Yeah, hello. Anonymous, make your contribution.
I'm surprised by the people who are saying that we should write to the police or civil society organizations should get permission, because we have seen the pattern that is not possible. It can't work, definitely. So for me, I'm only seeing two options. The first one is just for people to demonstrate, or is it protesting, whichever term you can use. And a lot of people are willing, but what is missing is for someone to kind of lead and say, let's protest to show our displeasure. Then the only other option, which is, and it's unfortunate to have reached this level, that it's no longer it's not even a police state, because it's not even the police that are controlling, it's the military, so it's a military state. So that means that if it's a military that is controlling how we are governed, the judiciary is not working, the National Assembly is not working. Unfortunately, it's only the military that can take the military out. I don't know if you are trying to see what I'm saying, but I'm sure within the military there are people who also are seeing that things are wrong, and they are the only ones who can probably control the situation. So these are the only two other ways, because everyone knows that there is no longer democracy in our country, unfortunately.
Thank you. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from and make your contribution.
Good morning, Emmanuel. Thank you for everything that you're doing. I want to challenge my fellow Zambians. Whether namukwata payment yaba police or not, at this stage payment itayabombe. And it is not possible to organize the protest on this platform. You cannot start organizing on the broadcast like this. Ama WhatsApp groups, you can even create right now a Facebook, just private Facebook, just for the protest. you cannot, there is a right time to start, and you cannot start a protest while muri 10, muri 100. It's not possible. Protest, but you can defeat a soldier. It should start with 3,000 of the people. And there is the best location where you can start from. So here, you start making noise every time, whatever, it's not possible. From the beginning, he planned already. If you are waiting for 2031, you should wait for God for the rest of your life. And that I don't need your votes. It is on the record. That he does not need anybody. He will use the soldiers, and it has come in reality. Now, what do you want at this point? It is better you kill, you die for your country than losing your country and your constitution. This is very, very important. As I conclude, what I am saying right now, create a WhatsApp group or Facebook group, and please, you can. I should also be part of it because I know where the location should be, the time should be. So you cannot expose yourself from the public. Thank you so much. Bye for now.
Thank you very much. Thank you. To all our callers, thank you very much. I'm grateful. I unfortunately have to go. I've got another meeting in the next 1.5 hours, and I just have to take some quick rest. So for all those that are calling, thank you so much. Thank you so much. You may have to catch up with us in the evening. The trouble we have is that the Secretary to Cabinet says the inauguration of President Hakainde Hichilema will proceed despite the court challenge. Bachanda, thank you for helping me, and thank you for being with me. Kindly make your last remarks.
Thank you very much, Wamamba. I also have an early morning meeting. I'm driving 4 hours away, so it's a good place. I'll be following up whatever is being discussed, and making sure that I'm kept abreast. I've been following up with what the people have been calling. One of the things, my observations are that there's a call for leadership in terms of how this resistance to constitution violation is going to take shape. So people are calling for leadership. We need leadership to make sure that people can show resentment to what is being done to them. If you see, there is also the mention of very senior leaders within government, within the legislature, and within the executive that do not agree with the current state of affairs, that they can show this by resigning, where they take action. And I think that is one avenue that must be seen. Those people, those members of parliament, those members of the judiciary that do not agree can show what the vice president in Tanzania has done, where they say, I'm not going to be part of this. Those are the huge statements that the Zambians are looking out for. If that is not done, at times people misinterpret, people will see that to say that it's complacency. And that when you want to come and speak at another time, they will say, but you kept quiet when people were calling for this call to action. There's a very serious call to action by the Zambians. Everyone is talking about call to action to stop the abuse of the powers that are the people that we have entrusted to perform their duties in line to support the Zambians, the people of Zambia. Then there is a call for. There's one of the callers who went out for the educated. He said, we the people that are educated are the biggest cowards. I think I tend to agree. At times we fear the unknown. The people are requiring support, technical support in terms of the know-how of how to protest without breaking the law. Because at times the anger gets over the people, and the people can resort to unconventional ways of, sending their statement. So there's need to make sure that that is managed. I see that there is another one that I looked at. There was also another call for people that are in prison. Like you see, the current government wants to keep people where they are. They've arrested a lot of people for others just by association. It's like you're guilty by association, not even guilty by what you say. No, if they find you with a person they don't like, then they pick you, they throw you in prison, and your constitutional rights are not even provided for. So there is that call. We need to make sure that we resist this. There is a call on the judiciary, especially the Chief Justice, to say that this is your time. This is the time that you must not disappoint the Zambians. This is the time that you must exercise the powers that we know for a Chief Justice. That is why you are Chief Justice. When everything else falls, people come to you and make sure that the leadership is there. If you are not being listened to a Chief Justice, if the executive has usurped power from you, the best thing that you do is at times to say, I have had enough, I'm leaving. So that we see how we can deal with that. Because we can't allow this scenario to continue. The call for protest, yes, we must be able to protest peacefully. Maybe this is the time that we must start thinking about some dress code. And I think by something that I personally am thinking, I'm wrapping up my head that the next podcast I show up, maybe I should show up in a black t-shirt, and I should be able to, start having conversation in a certain direction that people must know that this I'm not happy. Until people start to hear from what the Zambians have to say, we have to push forward, and the petition must be heard. The Zambians, we must continue talking. We must continue using any law of means possible to make sure that we are ahead. I thank you, Mamamba.
Thank you so much. Thank you, my dear brother. To our dear viewers and all those that are calling, we are done for the day. Just look out for the other program. Like I stated, I'll see if I can broadcast my next program. So thank you very much, and God bless you. Bachanda, thank you. We'll speak to you later.
Thank you, Magai.
Political and other issues moves fast in Zambia. Headlines scream from every screen, but do you actually know what they mean for you? There is too much noise, too much imposed opinions. You don't need another talking head shouting opinions. You need facts, you need context. You need the truth behind the noise. You need EMV. Emmanuel Mwamba Verified. Welcome to the award-winning podcast, EMV. We cut through the chaos every single day, and we bring you sharp, fearless news, reporting and deep dive analysis and special guests. Just the stories that matter, explained clearly. Stop guessing. Start knowing. Subscribe to the EMV podcast on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get the shows. Spend your evening with quality information. This is EMV. This is Emmanuel Mwamba Verified. Wake up to this morning news analysis show that provide facts, opinions, and reflections. On what the papers say, we frame key facts to provide a balanced perspective, set the national agenda, and focusing on cross-referencing newspaper coverage with primary data, expert and special guests to offer an in-depth look at daily stories. Live on EMV, I'm talking about Emmanuel Mwamba.